Welcome back, everybody. We finally arrived. Part 6 of the new song creation series. This is the mixing episode where I take all the tracks that I've done, and the reality is there's not too many tracks that I've got to worry about. I kind of kept it simple for this music, and so there's not too many tracks. But either way, I'm going to take all those tracks and mix them down or render them down to, you could either call it one stereo pair or two tracks left and right. Either way, it's a stereo pair. But in this episode, I want to take you and walk you through about 4 or 5 different things that I do to prepare for this final mix down. And the camera will be pointed mostly at the computer monitor screen, or the screen with all the faders, and it'll show you I'll show you the processing, what I've done, as well as monitoring levels, what plugins I assign to the master bus for my mix down at the end. But it should be good, and I'm going to blow my own horn here for a second because it's been quite a while since I've actually written new music, and I'm kind of proud of this song. It turned out a lot better than I thought it would, and I didn't need a bunch of tracks to make it happen. So I think you'll like it. It's about 6 minutes long. Once I go through the 4 or 5 points, I'm going to then do a trial run and let you hear the song in its entirety. And we'll do a mix down and see how it turned out, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, let's get into part 6 so I can show you what I did. So starting with the drums, I'm reviewing the drum tracks and checking where drums are sitting in the frequency spectrum as a whole. So I will solo up these instances and I'll give a listen to what the drums actually sound like, and just kind of check and see what's going on between just with the drums and how everything's sitting now. I do open an instance of a frequency compressor in Audio Suite, and that way what I do is I highlight the track I want played, and then I listen to it through the Audio Suite version without adjusting any parameters. And as you can see in the background there, you have all those waveforms in the back. That's actually just the drums. So I've highlighted just the drum track, and that's where all the drums are sitting. So it's actually a nice blend of drums and where they're sitting right now. There doesn't seem to be too... I could maybe stand to roll off some drums below 50 hertz, but other than that, what I then did is I brought over an EQ, and I set up an EQ curve in such a way to where it's going to kind of give the drums a little bit of shape, as far as bringing the low end out a little bit, as well as not doing too much to the high end as well, not to get that out of control. Even though they're electronic drums, it's good to kind of shape all that stuff and get it to where it needs to be. And then I move on to the master bus that the drums are going to. Bus 1 and 2 I bust over to this Lexicon 224, and I'll listen to that and just get an idea of what the drums sound like and if I need to adjust the effects or not. So after the drums, I move on to the bass tracks, and we start listening to those and We'll listen to them isolated first, and then we'll basically do the same thing. We're going to open up an instance of the audio suite. We'll listen to it first, of course, and then get an idea of what the bass is doing, and then I will come over and pull the frequency compressor out of the audio suite just for the metering portion of it, and it should be coming up here in just a second. There it is. And we're going to basically do the same thing. I'll highlight a portion of the bass track and then play it, and then right there is the bass and where it sits in the frequency spectrum. So mostly all low end and low mid, very little high. I mean, there's no real information in the highs for a bass to sit in anyway, because it's a lower frequency instrument, so you're not going to get any readings into the high. But either way, so I look at that and I figure out what I need to do, and I might come up and adjust the equalizer that's on that channel a little bit, and just make sure that the bass is either cut back or too much, and just kind of adjust it. There's only 3 sections that EQ is working on right now. Everything else is just not working there. But then we'll take and unsolo it and then listen to everything as a whole. You know, it's important to listen to each track alone in solo mode, but also to hear it with the other tracks, because to ensure any changes you made aren't canceling any frequencies out. Remember, you'll want to hear each individual play its part together for all continuity of the entire mix. So basically every track that's left, I'm going to perform the same exercise I did with the first 2 tracks, rinse and repeat. One thing I didn't mention though is the panning of the tracks into the frequency spectrum. So panning is a good thing to do, and oftentimes it can help with potential frequency cancellations that may be occurring in your mix. This can be a quick fix rather than readjusting an EQ here and there, especially if you like how the instruments or track sounds already. You just manipulate the EQ into a part of the track that might be a little less lean on the processing. But all in all, everything here that you see is panned respectively into what I believe sounds really good and separate from everything. So we're going to go with it. So now, after I have everything adjusted sonically, I will then go through and automate track levels, effects and triggering of certain effects at different places in the song. DAWs make it very fun to mix because of the automation feature that are contained within the software. Very forgiving. I've mentioned this before in previous videos that oftentimes in the analog days of mixing down tracks, all of the same things would take place as far as processing. Different tracks would be routed on a bus to different pieces of hardware audio processors before returning them to the mixing board or desk, as it is often called. There could be multiple people in the control room, even the band members themselves adjusting and engaging different processes during the mix, down to the stereo pair left and right. They would work off of a cue sheet. DAWs eliminate this with automation. So finally, when I've gone through all the tracks individually and listened to them as a whole and setting all the automation, I will move on to the master fader, which has its own set of effect inserts. Let me zoom into the master fader here and kind of show you what I mean. Here it comes, zooming. Oh boy, we gotta tilt now. Tilt up, Pat. Come on, tilt up. There you go. You're getting it. Oh. Steady. Oh, you're falling. Come on, figure it out. go. So anyway, moving on, the master fader. So what I do is I always add a meter for both clipping and oversampling of the program in its entirety. That's every track coming and routed to the master fader, where it will spit it out into a left and right audio file or a stereo file. I'll listen to the whole song from front to back, watching the meter and identifying any problems that may arise. Most of the time, though, during the mixing process, my levels are low enough that I do not need to concern myself with signal clipping or oversampling. This is because the second plugin I insert onto the master fader is a Studer 800 right there. Basically what that is it's a plugin that simulates the circuitry of an analog 24-track tape machine. There are many different presets you can use. What I usually do is choose the best sounding one for the particular song I'm mixing. And then I adjust either the output level or the input level down to where the master meter is peaking between -20 to -12 dB. And I'll show you that as soon as I lift the plug-in up, if I can lift it up. Hopefully I can lift it up. I might have to tip down the camera to show you where those adjustments are. Don't close it, just tip the camera down. Now tip the camera. You're gonna go, come on, do it, do it, do it. There you are. Oh, too much. Alright, so you see the input and the output level. You can also adjust the IPS. IPS stands for inches per second. You have 7.5 inches, 15 inches, and 30 inches per second. Usually the higher the IPS is, the better sound quality you get. But for whatever reason, they have the this preset set on 15. So, but that's what I've adjusted the input and output to do. And by doing this, it leaves me plenty of headroom when I do the final mastering of the song. When we get to the mastering episode, I will go over what I do to put the final touches on. Well, that's it for part 6. Sorry we didn't get to listen to the mix down. I decided to let you listen in its entirety on the mastering episode on part 7. So we're going to wait until then to hear the final piece, and then I'll let you listen as we're mastering the song. So that's part 7 coming up. So until then, take good care, God bless, and rock on.